The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.
So tonight we'll be talking about irreconcilable differences, a problem that is affecting many, many, many couples. And if you are watching us and that's your problem, perhaps you are facing now crossing a phase in your relationship that you think, the circumstances have already convinced you that that's your dead end. We have so many differences that it's impossible for us to stay together. But the first thing that you have to establish here, Pastor Lucas, is that what causes someone to be attracted to another is no other thing but differences. Because it cannot be, it's impossible for me to be attracted for someone that is just like me. For example, this is an example that we already used here a couple of times. If you say, for example, if I see this exactly phone being announced, an advertisement on TV, on YouTube, or whatever, that will not be something that will call my attention because I already have it. So what is the point for me to be there and watching that, the features and everything? Because I already have it, so that will not attract my attention. But let's say that they come with a new one, a new model, with new features, with things that I don't have, things that, really calls my attention. So of course I will have a desire, in order to have that. So what people have to understand is that, differences, they are not a problem in a relationship, but they are the reason why a couple, they are together.
Yes. So this whole idea of finding a person exactly like you.
Oh, no.
It's a fantasy. It's baloney. Finding someone who likes the same exotic flavor of ice cream, the same rare music album like you do.
It's so boring.
They read the same old book that you read when you were in school. This is ridiculous. It's fantasy. It's because it's too. We need to blame the movies because of this, Hollywood for this, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to be married, Pastor James, to a person that is just like you.
No.
That would be horrible. Mm-hmm. Imagine you getting married to someone just like you, to yourself. It's horrible. Who likes that? You need someone that will challenge you, that will be different, that will teach you different things, someone who will complete you.
We're going to watch now a report that we prepared about this topic tonight. Watch it now.
Are there differences that can be adjusted to in a relationship?
I'd say yes and no. It depends on what they are. I guess maybe in terms of physical things, maybe stuff you could work on, or maybe emotional stuff from trauma. I guess it depends on how much you want it to work, really.
I think relationships are about compromise, but I think at the same time you have to accept that there are differences, and I don't think you should change yourself for another person. So I guess it sort of depends. I think you should be flexible, but also not change who you are and be true to yourself.
You have to respect each other's differences for sure, but I think that's part of growing as a couple, whether you're just like boyfriend, girlfriend, or want to get married. But yeah, I don't think you should change for somebody. You should just be able to accept that you're different, and that's kind of part of the reason why, you love them.
What differences that are unbearable that you wouldn't accept?
I think sort of differences in sort of lifestyle and sort of things like where you want to live, and sort of financial differences, or sort of things like differences on children, for example, as well. Whereas I think this sort of small stuff like how you hang up your washing and stuff like that stuff doesn't matter, and I think that stuff can be sort of looked past. But I guess the bigger stuff, to make sure that there's compatibility between those, I think that's quite important.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a sliding scale of things I wouldn't do, but I think if there was some significant, I would make sacrifices for her.
My personality, I'm quite an outgoing person, so maybe someone who was maybe a bit quiet, we'd have to have good contrast but still on the same page. Also in terms of just views, maybe not so much political views, but I really love animals, so stuff to do with animal abuse and things like that I'm really passionate about, so I would quite like them to be on the same page, and if they wasn't, I'm not sure how much I could overlook that.
My wife and I am married. You know, we're definitely we're different, you know, ethnicities. We grew up different cultures. So we are different in that sense, but I wouldn't say that, you know, anything's unbearable, you know, like of course there's differences in the way you live and, you know, your habits, but I think unbearable would be the wrong word, because I think if something was unbearable, you probably wouldn't be with them.
If, for example, you're with someone who wants to sort of like live in a different country, but you want to stay in your country, then like that's a big difference. And I don't think sometimes it's fair to ask someone to make huge sacrifices that would mean that you'd be unhappy just for a relationship.
I feel like it's all about compromising in a relationship. So just finding somewhere to meet halfway that you're both happy with and that you're not changing too much and they're not changing too much.
Small changes aren't bad. You know, I don't think you should ever change who you are as a person completely, but small changes probably aren't a big deal. You know, if it's a bad habit, I think it's, again, part of growth as like a person. Yeah, small changes are probably good. You know, you learn as a person, for sure.
Yes, Pastor Lucas, can you see people, they're really even, how can I say, ready to accept the differences. But when it comes to change who they are, that became a problem. You know, that's a problem.
And there are differences. You're going to have to change.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sacrifice your opinion, your behaviors. You're going to have to compromise. Like one of the ladies said, you need to compromise at some point, right? There are differences that don't make, you know, it's not going to destroy any difference. Difference that don't make any difference, correct. But there are some that you're going to have to compromise to agree on it, right? And things like they said, children, for example, right? Imagine someone wants to have 5 children and the other one doesn't want to have children. Maybe they already have children in another past relationship. So this is something big that needs to be resolved.
But these are the kind of differences that they must be seen before, you know, they start, you know, a full engagement like a marriage.
Exactly.
But the point of not changing who I am, this is a very, how can I say, poetic idea that is very popular nowadays. People say, no, that's who I am. I'm not changing who I am. You know, this is, as you were saying before, the idea that comes from Hollywood, right? The films. So people, they say, no, that's who I am. I don't want to change who I am. But look, that's not a good idea, because one of the benefits of a marriage is exactly that. You're challenging to change yourself. If you ask me, would you prefer to be who you used to be 15 years ago? I would say, you know, definitely not. I prefer much more who I am now, the person I became now, and the person that I'm becoming, because marriage is a living thing. You are changing. We are changing all the time.
Exactly.
Now, yes, we're going to watch the report now that speaks more about this topic.
The strongest relationships are the ones in which both partners can be themselves. Intending to change the other person or dramatically changing yourself to fit someone else's ideals dooms couples to failure. When two people have beliefs or habits that differ too much, this creates friction. But even couples who have a lot in common need to make trade-offs sometimes. It's not as though two partners need to be exactly alike after all. Any healthy relationship involves compromise. Small differences can be worked around. It will simply need balance where both partners are willing to sacrifice for each other. Some celebrity couples have used their differences as something positive in their relationships and as a way to improve themselves. An example is Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. The singer admitted, "He's always trying to get me to hike, do yoga, eat vegan. I think that when you're attracted to someone, it's kind of opposites attract. So I'm looking for that balance. And maybe he's looking for that. You know, I'm such a multitasker." The singer John Legend also admitted that he and his wife Chrissy Teigen have always been different from each other. "We were always different. I was always a little bit more buttoned up, and she was always more brash and free." Ultimately, however, Legend states that they have both found strength in their differences. I think she's brought me out of my shell a bit and made me enjoy life a little bit more. It's been fun to grow together in that. Another couple talked about their complementary personalities were the actor Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell. Bell stated that their different attitudes helped them build a healthy relationship. I loved slamming doors. I wanted a dramatic exit. But he, having worked through a variety of emotional issues, said, "This isn't going to work. This isn't how I'm going to communicate for the rest of my life." When someone doesn't fight back and goes, "I don't want to do this," that threat is real. It makes you reevaluate your behavior. The way Dax and I argue now is so healthy. Singer Alicia Keys also spoke about her husband, Swizz Beatz. She said that at the beginning, she didn't like his ostentatious behavior, wanting the fastest car, the biggest jewelry, the loudest jacket. Everything was over the top with him. However, over time, she realized that the two had a lot to offer one another. I think we've taught each other a lot. He's taught me to live more fully, and I think I've taught him to live more deeply. As we can see from these examples, differences don't need to be a cause of stress and disagreements in a relationship. Rather, they can be opportunities for learning and growing together. The happiest couples take advantage of these differences and strengthen their union even more.
Yes, my dear friends, but the golden question is, how can we cope with the differences? How can we beat the irreconcilable differences? So we prepare here some, in a very some illustration for you to see it better how it works, because they are couples and they are couples, right? We cannot say that every couple they are completely the same. I have a marriage. Pastor Luca has completely different marriage. We have different ways with dealing problems and situations. So we cannot say here that there is only one solution for all couples. No, that's not true. But there is a guideline. If you follow this guideline, you may find your own. Okay? So, many differences. So let me show you now. Let's put it this one, please, Edir. The first one. So this shows, a couple. You see now, the purple ball, the pink ball, and the blue ball. So imagine now the pink ball is the woman, and the blue one the man. So many differences and little in common. So we have couples, Pastor Lucas, that that intersection, that in the middle, represents what they have in common. So they just have a little in common, but most of them, they're completely different from each other. I can relate to this one because, myself and Karina, now we became a bit different. We are more merged, but we're still different, of course. But we are completely different from each other's.
That's how we start. That those two circles, actually, you can even put them further apart, actually, because it's very little in common at the beginning. You don't even find the same. Eddie, can you put it again?
Put it again, please.
You would even put them further apart. Further apart, because you don't even start like that, Pastor James. You don't even start like that.
No.
With that, intersection there, that much. You start even further away. It's very little in common, but as you times goes by, you work in your marriage, you reconcile your differences, you sacrifice your will, you learn, you understand each other, so the circle starts to come together much more, right?
Yeah. But there are other couples. Now let's go to the next one, please. That they are like that. There are differences, but a lot in common, as you will see now on your screen. So I can relate to that now, because this is who I am the kind of relationship I have now. We have more in common than differences, but we still have many different things. You know, myself and Karina, we are different in many, many different things. However, after a while, and of course, for us to become, for us to migrate from that first illustration to the second one, put it on full screen, please. Yes, you can remove the little one, please. Yes, thank you very much. So for us to be there, yes, this one, thank you very much. From this one where there's just little in common and big differences to the next one, let's put the next one. You know, that it didn't happen by chance. It didn't happen, you know, because we prayed a lot, because there are couples that they think, you know, if we pray a lot, you know, we're going to solve our difference. Unfortunately, prayer, it might help you, and I believe will help a lot, but will not resolve your problem, because the main thing about resolving these differences or learning how to live with them or not is more than only, you know, be there praying and asking God for, you know, a kind of miracle, but is your willingness to change. Is your willingness, you know, to sacrifice certain things about you for the sake of the relationship. So the question is how can you identify if the differences are too many? Let us put it now. So we have 3 questions that will help you on how can you identify if the differences are too many. So the first question is, ask yourself, from 0 to 10, how much does this bother me? So thinking about the difference, from 0 to 10, how much does this bother me? Considering that, you know, what if it's over 5, is already a red flag, right? The second question, please. The second one, please. Ask yourself the second question. Is this bearable? Can the other person change or can I tolerate it? Right? This is the second thing you have to ask yourself. And the third question you should ask yourself. Look at that. Is there recognition and willingness to change? So these are basically, Pastor Lucas, the 3 questions, and we can go over them now for us to break it down and help these people to understand, you know, what they have to find by asking themselves this question. Because look, you are looking for answers, right? And there is no other way for you to find answers if you don't ask questions. So look at that. How much do the differences bother you? So ask yourself this question. Let's go for the first question first, Pastor Lucas. How much do the differences bother you?
There are differences, Pastor James. It bothers a lot. For example, one wants to live in the city, in the big city, or to live in London, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say 2 people dating. One has the dream of living in London, being successful and having, you know, a very good established financial life. And the other one just wants a little money, just enough for them to go back to, let's say, to Africa or to another country.
Caribbean.
And live off of the money. They just want to pay their bills, live an easy life.
They don't have an ambition.
They don't have ambition. They hate this place. They want to live as soon as possible. So this is something that's going to bother.
Yeah.
Because imagine you have to go wherever your husband, your wife goes. Or that person will have to stay here with you. So how it's going to be? This is a problem that will bother. So you need to ask, does this bother me?
Yeah.
It will make a difference in my life.
Yeah, for singles, you still have time to avoid the situation. But if you are already married to a person and you are facing a situation like that, you know, this example that Pastor Lucas just mentioned, there was a very good one, you know, about location, where you want to live, or any other similar situation like that, you have to put in a scale and say, okay, from, as we said before, from 0 to 10, how much does this bother me? So and then comes the art of negotiation, Pastor Lucas. So a couple, they have to sit down and talk, okay, what I want to live here in London, I want to be here, I have ambition to make money, to buy houses, to have cars, and to have, a luxury life. And you don't have this ambition, want to go back to your country, or you want to move out to countryside and, buy a farm or a piece of land and live the rest of your days there, wherever. So you have to find, perhaps your husband, your spouse will not have that quiet life that they really want, and not even you having that busy life you wanted to have. So you have to find the middle way, right?
Exactly. And if you can find a common ground, it's a no-go. There's no way that this is going to work.
Exactly. Second question, please, Edir. Is it possible to change or tolerate them? And of course, you're not only talking about the person, themselves, but about the situation, because there is a fact, Pastor Lucas, there are certain things that we cannot tolerate. There are things that we cannot cope with. For example, if you are watching us now and you are in an abusive relationship, this is not something that you have to tolerate. You should seek help, go and seek help with the authorities, go and seek help with, perhaps go and speak to your family about these abuses. You must find help. And of course, you can come to the Law Therapy Universal Church. We are here to give you spiritual advice, of course, in support for you to overcome this situation. But this is one of the few situations that we would advise, that it's impossible for you to tolerate that. You should not tolerate a situation like that. But people that think, but my husband leaves the wet towel on the bed, that's the end of the world. Oh, come on, just a little things, little issues that it can be, sorted with a conversation. Even if you try to talk and he doesn't change, so do it yourself. What is the problem, for the sake of peace?
Yeah, things that you cannot tolerate are serious things. For example, you young woman, you want to have a child. It's your dream to have children. But then maybe you are getting to know someone who already have children. And this person doesn't want to have children. So can you live without having children? Oh no, Pastor, I cannot tolerate that. I can't. This is my dream. So someone's going to have to compromise. Exactly. And if the person is not willing to compromise, there's no way this is going to work.
The third question, is there willingness to change? Yes, because if the person is willing to change, it's possible for you to move on from where you are. Will that be easy? No, that won't be easy, but that's why, we are here to offer you support.
The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.